My name is Lawrence Jennings, but most folks just call me Larry. I'm 67 years old, and for my entire life, I've believed in solid things, things you can touch. I spent 42 years as a structural engineer. I designed bridges that spanned rivers people said couldn't be tamed, and high-rises that touched the Austin, Texas sky. My hands have been stained with concrete, and my mind has solved problems of load and stress. Every dollar I ever made, I earned with honest effort. My wife, Sandra Williams Jennings, and I built a good life. We raised 2 children. Mitchell, our son, is 35 and a data analyst up in New York. Our daughter, Natalie, is 38 and lives right here in Austin. Sandra passed away in January of 2021. Her fight with diabetes was long, and it took a piece of all of us when she went. Natalie seemed especially devastated. She had always been close to her mother, or so I believed. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. For the 2 years after we lost Sandra, Natalie stepped into a role that felt like a blessing. She became the perfect, attentive daughter. She'd visit my Barton Hills apartment every week, stocking my fridge, organizing my pills, and driving me to my routine checkups. Mitchell called constantly, his voice always tight with concern, but his job kept him in New York. I understood. I was just grateful for Natalie's dedication. In November of 2021, she married Timothy Horton. He was a 40-year-old financial manager at a mid-sized firm, slick and polite. The wedding was modest. Timothy always seemed to steer conversations toward my investments or property, but I brushed it off. It was his profession, after all. He was wired to think about assets and portfolios. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Everything changed in March of 2023. A strange, heavy fatigue settled into my bones. I started losing weight without trying, and a persistent, dull ache began to throb in my abdomen. My primary care physician, Dr. Anita Shah, ordered a full battery of blood work and imaging. Her face was compassionate but firm when she called me into her office on March 15th. "Larry, the results are back," she said, folding her hands on the desk. "It's pancreatic cancer. We've caught it at stage 2. The words hit me like a physical blow. Dr. Shah was direct. "I need you to see a specialized oncologist urgently. With this diagnosis, time is the one thing we cannot waste. Every day matters." She was already writing a referral. "I'm sending you to Evanston University Hospital. They have one of the best oncology centers in the state." The reality of specialized medicine, even with good insurance, is the waiting list. The referral went through, but the first available slot with the specialist wasn't for 3 months. June 15th, 2023. 3 months. 90 days that stretched out in front of me like a barren desert. During that wait, my body began to fail me. The pain intensified from a dull throb to a sharp, stabbing sensation. I lost 17 pounds. Sleep became a luxury, stolen in short, anxious bursts. I was living in a fog of insomnia and fear. Natalie knew everything. I showed her the scans, the blood reports. I explained what Dr. Shah had said about the urgency. "I need your help, honey," I told her. "I'm not safe to drive anymore. The fatigue, the painkillers. I need you to take me to this appointment. It's the most important one of my life." She took my hands, her eyes filled with tears. "Dad, count on me. This is the most important thing. Mom would want me to take care of you." I called her on June 14th, the day before, just to confirm. "Don't worry, Dad," she assured me, her voice smooth and caring. "I'll pick you up at 8 a.m. sharp. Your appointment is at 9:30. We'll have plenty of time." I barely slept, not from fear, but from a sliver of hope. This was the day I would finally start the fight. On the morning of June 15th, I was up at 6. I showered, the simple act leaving me breathless. I put on comfortable clothes and gathered my medical reports into a neat folder. By 7:30, I was sitting in my armchair by the window, waiting. 8:02 a.m. came and went. Then 8:10. At 8:15, a knot of unease tightened in my gut. I called her. It rang 6 times before she picked up. "Hello, Dad." Her voice was casual, unhurried. "Natalie, it's 8:15. Are you on your way?" A pause. It lasted maybe 3 seconds, but it was the moment my world cracked. "Dad, I'm so sorry. I can't take you. Something urgent came up with Barbara." Barbara Horton, her mother-in-law, a woman of 64, in perfect health. "What happened? Is she okay?" I asked, genuine concern in my voice. "Oh, she's fine, Natalie said quickly. "It's just, she has this really important spa appointment she booked months ago, and her car is in the shop. I have to take her. You know how she gets. She'll be a nervous wreck if she misses it." The world went silent. I could hear the clock ticking on the wall. "Naomi, my oncology appointment is today. The one I've waited 3 months for. It's my cancer, Natalie." "I know, Dad, I know. But you can just call and reschedule. Barbara has priority today. She's counting on me. You understand, right?" Barbara has priority. The words were etched into my mind with acid. I didn't shout. I didn't plead. My voice was quiet. "I understand." I hung up the phone. For 10 minutes, I just sat there. I stared at the folder on my lap. I thought about Sandra. I thought about the values we'd tried to instill in our daughter for 38 years. Then, my engineer's mind took over. Problem. Solution. I picked up the phone and called a taxi. It was 8:25 a.m. Evanston was 25 minutes away in good traffic. I still had a chance. The cab arrived in 8 minutes. The driver, an older man, saw me struggling to get in. "You all right, sir?" "Cancer. Late for my oncologist," I said, breathing heavily. He nodded once and drove. We arrived at the hospital at 9:14 a.m. I gave him a $40 bill for the ride and told him to keep it. I rushed to the oncology floor. The receptionist checked her system. Her expression was full of professional pity. "Mr. Jennings, your appointment was at 9:30. You're here early, which is good, but our protocol requires check-in 30 minutes prior for new patient registration and vitals. Your 9 a.m. check-in slot has passed. Dr. Reed is already with his next patient." "Please," I begged. "I've waited 3 months. My daughter, there was an issue." "I'm so sorry, Mr. Jennings," she said, and she seemed to mean it. "These are very strict rules. We have a waiting list months long for new patients." She typed at her keyboard. "I can reschedule you for the next available opening, August 18th. 2 more months, 60 more days, with this thing growing inside me." "I'll take it," I whispered. I took another cab home. I didn't feel rage. I felt something colder, heavier, absolute clarity. My mind, trained to analyze structural failures, began to analyze this. A bridge doesn't collapse from one single, sudden event. It fails because of a series of small, unaddressed stresses. Naomi hadn't forgotten. She hadn't been confused. She knew exactly what she was doing. The real question was why. I got back to my apartment. I made tea, sat in my armchair, and began to document. I took out a fresh legal pad and a pen. I wrote the date, June 15th, 2023. I wrote the time of her call. I wrote her exact words. "Barbara has priority." I thought back. Since her wedding to Timothy, the visits had shortened. The deep conversations had become superficial, and Timothy's questions. Larry, that lake house at O'Brien, you still have that? Is this apartment fully in your name? Have you updated your estate plan since Sandra passed? Questions that seemed like professional curiosity at the time. Now they felt like reconnaissance. At 3 p.m., my doorbell rang. It was Evelyn James, my neighbor from the 5th floor. She and Sandra had been close. Larry, I saw you come back. I thought you had your big appointment today. It was canceled, I said, not wanting to go into it. Evelyn frowned. That's odd, because I saw Natalie this morning, right around 9. She drove right past the building with another older woman. Both of them were laughing their heads off about something. I waved, but they were talking and didn't see me. My blood ran cold. You're sure? About the time? Positive. It was just after 9. I was taking my trash out. She had driven right past my building at 9:05 a.m. with her mother-in-law laughing while I was in a taxi praying to make it on time. I thanked Evelyn and closed the door. I went straight to my legal pad and added her testimony, date, and time. This notebook was no longer a journal. It was a logbook of a structural failure. The next day, Natalie called. Her voice was breezy, carefree. Hey, Dad. How are you? How'd the appointment go yesterday? I lost it. I was late. They rescheduled me for August. A tiny pause. Oh, what a shame. Well, at least you have another date. It's probably not that serious to wait a little longer, right? Not that serious. 2 more months with pancreatic cancer. I kept my voice perfectly level. Of course, Natalie, not serious at all. I hung up and wrote that down too, word for word. I immediately dialed Mitchell in New York. He picked up on the 3rd ring. Dad, I was just about to call you. How did it go? What did the oncologist say? The genuine, raw concern in his voice was a stark contrast to his sister's indifference. I told him everything. The cancellation, the spa, the missed appointment, the 2-month delay. There was a long, heavy silence on the line. Dad, Mitchell said finally, his voice low. I need to tell you something. I've been holding on to it for weeks, not knowing how to say it. He took a breath. I was in Austin for work 3 weeks ago. I stopped by Natalie's unannounced. Timothy was in the backyard on his phone. He didn't see me. I heard him say, "We need to resolve the old man's situation soon. Every month that goes by is money evaporating on unnecessary medical expenses." When he saw me, he hung up fast and said it was a client. Are you sure, Mitchell? Absolutely sure? Positive, Dad. Resolve the old man's situation. I asked him about it, and he got nervous. I wanted to tell you, but how do you say that? You're telling me now, I said. Write it down, everything you remember, date, time, exact words. Email it to me. I hung up and added it to my own notebook. The stresses on the structure were becoming critical. The next 8 weeks were a slow-motion hell. My health declined. The pain was a constant fire. I didn't confront Natalie. I just observed. I documented. Her visits became sparse, brief. She'd ask about my health in general terms, but when I mentioned the worsening pain, she'd change the subject. Oh, did you see the new patio furniture Timothy and I are looking at? On June 29th, Sandra's birthday, we always went to the cemetery together. This year, Natalie texted. Can't make it. Barbara needs help planning a dinner party. I went alone. On July 12th, she called to uninvite me from Timothy's cousin's wedding. There was a mix-up with the seating, Dad. Just no space. Mitchell, who flew in for it, later told me there were at least 15 empty chairs at the reception. I documented it. My notebook was getting thick. On August 14th, just 4 days before my new appointment, Natalie and Timothy showed up together. It was the first time I'd seen Timothy in months. "Larry, good to see you," he said, looking me over. "You're looking thin. Natalie tells me you've been a little depressed." Depressed. That was the new narrative. They sat on my sofa. Timothy did the talking. "Larry, we've been thinking. This apartment is too big for you. It's a lot of upkeep. We've been looking at some fantastic retirement communities, top-notch medical care, activities." "A nursing home," I said, my voice flat. "A high-end community," he corrected smoothly. "And your apartment, you could just transfer it into Natalie's name. She could manage the asset for you, handle the paperwork. You wouldn't have to worry about a thing." They smiled, a matched set, like they were offering me a gift. "That's an interesting idea, Timothy. Let me think about it." I wrote it all down as soon as they left. The plan was no longer subtle. 3 days later, on August 17th, Natalie came by alone. She was carrying a container of soup. "Just wanted to check on you before your big appointment tomorrow, Dad." She seemed nervous, overly solicitous. "I'll just put this in the kitchen." I went to the bathroom. The pain medication was making me unsteady. I was only gone for 2 minutes, maybe 3. When I came back out, she was standing by the front door, zipping her purse. "Everything okay, honey?" I asked. "Perfect. Just wanted to drop that off. Good luck tomorrow, Dad. I'm so glad you're finally getting seen." She gave me a quick, brittle hug and left. An hour later, a cold dread seized me. I went to my desk. I pulled open the deep drawer where I kept the legal pad. It was gone. I tore the desk apart. I checked my filing cabinets, my nightstand. Nothing. The notebook, my logbook, my evidence, my meticulous record of every lie, every date, every witness, was gone. She hadn't come to bring me soup. She had come to disarm me. I sank into my desk chair. The wind knocked out of me. She knew I was documenting, and she had stolen it. All that proof, gone. I spent the rest of the day in a state of shock. I was defeated. She had taken my primary weapon. I had Mitchell's email and Evelyn's verbal account, but the systematic, documented pattern was gone. They had outmaneuvered me. That evening, I was staring blankly at my computer when a new email notification popped up. The sender was an unidentifiable string of letters and numbers. The subject, Timothy Horton. My hand trembled as I opened it. The message was brief. "Mr. Jennings, I am a junior associate at Mr. Horton's firm. I cannot stand by and watch what he is planning. I have no access to his personal files, but he is careless on the company server. He is trying to steal your assets and is bragging about it. You need to protect yourself. Please don't try to reply. I will be deleting this account immediately." I scrolled down. My heart hammered against my ribs. There were attachments. I clicked the first one. It was a PDF of an email chain. Timothy, writing to a colleague. Looking to liquidate 2 prime properties, Barton Hills, Lake O'Brien, in the next 3 to 6 months. Family inheritance that's about to clear. Let me know if you have any interested investors. The email was dated July 20th, when I was very much alive. The second attachment was a memo from Timothy to one of the firm's paralegals, dated August 1st. Need research on the requirements for having a family member declared cognitively unfit in Texas. Specifically relating to side effects of chemotherapy and cancer-related depression. Need this fast and quiet. The third attachment was a Word document. It was a draft, a full, comprehensive power of attorney, granting Natalie Jennings Horton complete control over all my finances, properties, and medical decisions. He hadn't just been talking. He had been acting. He was building a case to have me declared incompetent. The theft of my notebook wasn't the final move. It was just clearing the board before his final move. I printed everything. The anger burned away the defeat. They hadn't disarmed me. They had just forced me to find a new weapon. The next morning, August 18th, a private medical transport service picked me up at 8 a.m. I arrived at Evanston University Hospital 45 minutes early. Dr. Calvin Reed was a man in his 50s with a serious, analytical expression. He reviewed my March scans and compared them with the new ones we'd just taken. He put them side by side on the light screen. "Mr. Jennings, I won't sugarcoat this," he said. "The tumor has progressed significantly in the 5 months since your initial diagnosis. In March, this was a localized stage 2A tumor. Operable. High chance of a good outcome." He pointed to the new scan. "Today, the tumor has grown and is now involved with regional lymph nodes. This is stage 2B, bordering on stage 3. The 2-month delay, it was critical. If we had started treatment in June, your chances for curative surgery were high. Now, that optimal window has closed." My voice was hard, steady. "Dr. Reed, I am a structural engineer. I need a technical report. I need you to document, with absolute clarity, the date of my first scheduled appointment, the date of this actual appointment, and how that specific 2-month lapse in care has directly affected my prognosis and treatment options." He looked at me with professional curiosity. "Mr. Jennings, that is your right. I can prepare a full clinical summary detailing the progression. Is there a legal reason for this? Let's just say I need to establish a clear timeline of cause and effect, the consequences of decisions made by third parties." "I understand," he said, nodding. "I'll have it ready for you in a week. In the meantime, we need to start aggressive neoadjuvant chemotherapy immediately. We need to try and shrink this tumor to even consider surgery." I agreed to everything. I signed the consents. I left that hospital not as a victim, but as a man with a blueprint. On the ride home, I didn't call Mitchell first. I pulled out my phone and searched for the best asset protection attorneys in Austin. I found a name that came up repeatedly, with words like tenacious and bulldog. Blackwell and Associates. I called from the car. "I need an urgent consultation with Mr. Simon Blackwell. It concerns financial abuse of a vulnerable person and deliberate medical negligence." The secretary was efficient. "Mr. Blackwell can see you on August 22nd at 11 a.m. "I'll be there," I said, and hung up. On August 22nd, I walked into the offices of Blackwell and Associates. Simon Blackwell was an imposing man in his 50s, with an immaculate suit and a gaze that didn't miss a thing. "Mr. Jennings, please sit. Tell me what brings you here." For an hour I laid it out. The engineer's report. I told him about the notebook and its theft. Then I laid the printed emails from the unexpected ally on his desk. Finally, I told him what Dr. Reed had said. Blackwell read the emails from Timothy. His expression darkened. "Mr. Jennings, this isn't just suspicious. This is a documented, premeditated plan to divest you of your assets, compounded by what any court would see as deliberate medical negligence. They didn't just forget you. They sabotaged your health to accelerate their plan." He leaned back. "They stole your notebook, thinking they'd won. They have no idea this." He tapped the printed emails. is infinitely more powerful. This is internal company correspondence. This is irrefutable. Here is what we are going to do, Blackwell said, his voice clipped and precise. First, we protect your assets. Today. He outlined the plan. We would create a new, ironclad, revocable living trust, revoking all previous wills. My total estate was worth about $850,000, my apartment and the Lake O'Brien house. You planned on a 50-50 split, he said. We will change that. We will set up a specific bequest for your daughter, Natalie, for $150,000. This is a clear, definitive amount that is legally difficult to challenge as disinheritance. Your son, Mitchell, will be the sole beneficiary of the entire residual estate. We will also execute a quitclaim deed today to transfer the Lake O'Brien house to Mitchell as a gift. That takes it off the table immediately. I did the math. Natalie was expecting over $400,000. She would get $150,000. Finally, Blackwell said, we will execute a durable medical power of attorney, naming Mitchell as your sole representative. Your daughter will have zero legal authority over your health. We need Mitchell here. I called Mitchell. He was on a plane to Austin that night. I'm with you, Dad. All the way. On August 25th, Mitchell and I went to Evanston Hospital for my first chemotherapy session. It was 4 hours of poison dripping into my veins. I felt weak, dizzy, but my mind was sharp. Dr. Reed personally delivered the report I had requested. 8 pages, full of technical data, charts, and his clinical conclusion. The 2-month delay in treatment is directly responsible for the patient's progression from stage 2A, operable, to stage 2B, borderline inoperable, significantly worsening the prognosis. I put the report in my briefcase. It felt as heavy as a steel plate. That afternoon, at 4 p.m., Mitchell and I met Blackwell at the offices of a closing attorney, Roger Stone. As a precaution, Blackwell had arranged for a psychiatrist, Dr. Victor Olson, to meet me there first. For 30 minutes, he assessed my cognitive state. He signed a certificate declaring me of sound mind, full mental capacity, and under no duress. Then, we signed the documents, the new trust, the new will, the gift deed for the lake house, the medical power of attorney, page after page. My signature was firm. When it was done, Roger Stone notarized the final page with a heavy stamp. My assets were secure. My life was in my own hands, and Mitchell's. Now, Blackwell said as we left, we wait for them to make their move, and they will. We didn't wait long. The very next day, August 26th, my apartment buzzer rang. It was Natalie. Dad, we need to talk. We're coming up. I buzzed them in. Mitchell stood beside me as the door opened. It was Natalie, Timothy, and, surprisingly, Barbara Horton, the 3 of them, a coordinated mission. Dad, Natalie began, her voice strained with false concern. We are so worried about you. Timothy took the lead. Larry, we know you started chemo. Those treatments, they're brutal. They cause confusion, mental fog, depression. It's not your fault. It's just the chemistry. Barbara, the mother-in-law, chimed in, her voice syrupy. Mr. Jennings, I went through this with my late husband. He needed constant help. He couldn't be trusted with complex decisions. We're just here to support Natalie in helping you. Mitchell and I exchanged a look. Barbara was here as a witness, to validate my confusion. Natalie pulled a sheaf of papers from her designer handbag. Dad, we had these drawn up. It's a general power of attorney. It just makes your life easier. I'll pay your bills, manage the properties, coordinate with the doctors, everything. You just focus on getting better. She held them out to me. I took them. I read them, though I already knew what they were. The same broad, all-encompassing powers from the draft I had printed. Total control. The power to sell my home, empty my accounts, and make every decision for me. They were turning me into a legal ghost. These documents give you absolute control over everything I own, I stated, my voice quiet. It's for your protection, Larry, for your own good, Timothy said quickly. Imagine something happens. Someone needs to be able to act. And why not Mitchell? I asked, looking him right in the eye. He's my son, too. Natalie tensed. Mitchell lives in New York. He can't be here. I'm the one here, always available. That's interesting, I said, my voice as cold as steel. Because Mitchell has been more present in the last 2 days than you have in the last 6 months. Timothy changed tactics, his voice taking on a condescending, placating tone. Larry, let's be practical. You're 67, you have advanced cancer, you're on aggressive drugs. You need professional help. He tapped his chest. I manage finances. I can protect your legacy. My legacy, I repeated. Is that why you were at my accountant's office last week, trying to get a list of my investments? Timothy's face went pale. I was just doing preliminary research to advise you. And is it advice to tell your colleagues you're liquidating my properties as an inheritance? I asked. While I am still breathing? Natalie looked at her husband, her eyes wide with panic. Timothy, what is he talking about? He's paranoid, Timothy snapped, his composure cracking. It's the medication, I'm telling you. Chemo brain. It's a known side effect. Anxiety, delusions. You need psychological help, Larry. There it was. The foundation for having me declared incompetent. You're right, I said. I did get a psychological evaluation. I walked to my briefcase. Mitchell stood, blocking the doorway. I placed a folder on the coffee table. Here is the certificate of full mental capacity, signed yesterday by Dr. Victor Olson, confirming I am of sound mind and full cognitive function. I placed a second folder on the table. And here is the 8-page medical report from Dr. Calvin Reed, my oncologist. It details, in technical terms, how the 2-month treatment delay you caused, Natalie, directly led to my cancer advancing to a more dangerous stage. He calls it a critical loss of the optimal therapeutic window. Natalie recoiled as if the paper had burned her. And finally, I said, placing the third folder down, the delusions. Here are the printed emails from your own company server, Timothy. You, marketing my properties. You, researching how to declare me mentally unfit. You, drafting these fraudulent papers. The silence in the room was absolute. Timothy's face was ashen. Barbara looked like she was going to be sick. But I wasn't finished, I said. I pulled the large, sealed envelope from my briefcase. Because after I received this proof of your concern, I took my own steps. I tore open the envelope and laid the notarized deeds on the table. These are dated yesterday. Document 1. A new revocable living trust. Of my total $850,000 estate, Natalie will receive a specific one-time legal bequest of $150,000. Document 2. The gift deed. The Lake O'Brien house was transferred to Mitchell yesterday. It's already his. And Document 3. The exclusive medical power of attorney, granting Mitchell sole authority over all my health care. You, I looked at Natalie, have no legal say in my life, my assets, or my death. Natalie stared at the papers, trembling. Then she screamed, a raw, furious sound. "What did you do? You can't do this! I'm your daughter! I took care of you!" "You took care of me," I said, my voice shaking with a cold fury, "until you decided I was worth more to you dead than alive. You canceled my cancer treatment for a spa day. You drove past my house, laughing, while I was in a cab, dying. You stole my notebook, thinking you'd silenced me. You tried to have me declared insane. You are not my daughter. You are a predator." "This is Marcus's fault," she shrieked, turning on her brother. "He manipulated you. He poisoned you against me." "He didn't have to," Mitchell said, his voice hard. "Your own actions did." Natalie rounded on her mother-in-law. You said this would work. You said to just pressure him, to wait until the chemo made him weak and confused and he'd sign anything." A new, cold silence. Barbara's face crumpled in terror. Timothy's eyes shot to Mitchell, who was holding his smartphone, its camera light glowing. "I've been recording this entire conversation," Mitchell said calmly. "Including your confession, Natalie, and your admission of conspiracy, Mrs. Horton." Timothy grabbed Natalie's arm. "Shut up! Not one more word! We're leaving!" "It's not fair," Natalie sobbed, a tantrum of pure greed. "That money is mine. I deserve it." "You will receive exactly what the law allows," I said, walking to the door and holding it open. "In $150,000. Consider it mercy. I have enough evidence right here to sue you for deliberate negligence, fraud, and elder abuse. I could have disinherited you completely." I looked her in the eyes. "But from this moment, you are done. You have no access to my life. When I die, you will receive a check. That is the last thing you will ever get from me. Now get out of my house." Natalie ran out, sobbing. Timothy, his face a mask of pure hatred, followed her. Barbara scrambled after them, terrified. I closed the door, the heavy click of the lock sounding final. The consequences were immediate. 2 days later, a letter arrived from Natalie's lawyers, announcing their intent to challenge the trust on grounds of undue influence and diminished capacity. I forwarded it to Simon Blackwell. His response was a 22-page legal document. It contained the psychiatric evaluation, the oncologist's report, the internal emails from Timothy's firm, and a notarized transcript of the video recording Mitchell had taken. Blackwell concluded by warning them that any frivolous litigation would be met with a countersuit for harassment and a demand for all legal fees. We never heard from that law firm again. The fallout was swift. The unexpected ally at Timothy's firm must have acted again. Armed with the knowledge of his boss's behavior, the firm's partners launched an internal investigation. Timothy was fired within a week for gross misconduct and ethics violations. The story of him trying to defraud his sick father-in-law made him radioactive in Austin's financial circles. Evelyn, my neighbor, told me the story was all over their social clubs. Barbara Horton, who had been a witness to the fraud, was now a pariah. She was asked to step down from 2 charitable boards. Her social life evaporated. A week later, I received a call from an unknown number. It was Barbara. Her voice was desperate. "Mr. Jennings, please don't hang up. You have to help me. My own son is furious. My friends won't speak to me. Natalie and Timothy are blaming me for everything. You have to tell them I was just trying to help." "Mrs. Horton," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. "You came into my home to act as a witness to a fraud. You advised them to wait until I was weak from chemotherapy. Your own words, recorded. The consequences you are facing are yours alone. Goodbye." I hung up and blocked the number. September and October were a blur of chemotherapy. The poison ravaged my body, but my mind was clear. I was fighting. Mitchell flew in every 2 weeks. We set up a system, daily video calls, a private nurse. He managed all my medical paperwork from New York. I had lost a daughter, but I had gained a son who was worth 1,000 of her. In late October, I went for new scans. Dr. Reed pulled up the images, and for the first time, I saw him smile. "Larry, the tumor markers are down. The tumor, it has shrunk by nearly 40%. The chemotherapy is working." He pointed to the screen. "It's pulled back from the arterial wall. You're responding. If this trend continues, we can schedule the surgery." It was the first good news I'd had in a year. The same week, I received a certified letter. It was from a new law firm. Natalie and Timothy were divorcing. The letter stated that Natalie was formally requesting an advance on her expected inheritance to finance her legal separation. I laughed. It was a raw, bitter sound. I faxed the letter to Blackwell. He called me back, chuckling. "An expected inheritance isn't an asset, Larry. It's a hope. And her hope is legally capped at $150K. You have zero obligation to respond. We will ignore it." A few nights later, my phone rang. A private number. I answered. It was Natalie. Her voice was broken, slurring. "Dad, please, Trevor left me. He took all the money from the joint account. He blames me for everything. My friends are gone. Barbara won't speak to me. I'm alone. I have nothing. Please, Dad. I'm your daughter." I felt a flicker of something. Pity, maybe. The memory of the little girl who used to hold my hand. But then I remembered. Barbara has priority. I remembered the stolen notebook. I remembered the power of attorney papers. "Naomi, you are my daughter biologically," I said, my voice flat. "But you made your choices. You reap what you sow. Learn to live with it." I hung up the phone and blocked all private numbers. January 17th, 2024. I was on an operating table for 5 hours. Dr. Reed and his team performed a complete resection. The tumor was gone. The margins were clean. The recovery was brutal. 6 weeks of rest, pain, and relearning how to live. Mitchell took a leave of absence and stayed with me, sleeping on my sofa. By March, I was walking. In early April, Dr. Reed reviewed my first post-surgical scans. "Larry," he said, shaking my hand, "no evidence of active disease. You are officially in complete remission. You won." That afternoon, I went to the cemetery. I sat by Sandra's grave. "I did it, my love," I whispered. "I won. And I overcame the other thing, too. The betrayal. It would have broken your heart to see her. It broke mine. But I did what was right. I set the boundaries. I taught her the lesson. I protected what we built." On April 14th, Sandra's birthday, I went to the cemetery with her favorite white roses. As I arranged them, I heard footsteps on the grass behind me. I turned. It was Natalie. She looked broken. Thinner, her hair cut short, no makeup. She looked defeated. "Dad," she whispered. "I knew you'd be here." I said nothing. I just looked at her. "I've been in therapy," she rushed to say, tears already streaming down her face. "I've had 10 months to think about what I did, how I let Timothy, for money. Dad, I almost killed you." She choked on a sob. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve it. But I needed you to know that I know. I understand what I lost. I lost the best father in the world because I was greedy and weak." I listened. I felt a deep, profound sadness. but the cold clarity of that June morning had never left me. "Naomi," I said, my voice calm, "I am glad you are getting help. I am glad you recognize the truth. But recognition does not equal restoration. Some things, when they are broken this badly, cannot be repaired." "You can't. You can't ever forgive me?" she whispered. "Forgiveness is one thing," I said. "Trust is another. Perhaps, one day, I will find it in my heart to forgive you. But that doesn't mean I will ever allow you back into my life. Forgiveness does not require me to forget. The trust you destroyed is gone forever." I looked at her, my daughter, a stranger. "You will live your life. I will live mine. When I die, you will receive your legal bequest. That will be our final interaction." I turned my back on her. I faced Sandra's headstone. I heard her sob, a gasping, hopeless sound. Then I heard her footsteps, slowly, finally, walking away. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from, or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.